Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic Studios. Thank you so much for joining us here. And thank you so much, Haiqa Nasir, for coming into the studio today for this podcast. Ismail Farouk is here as well. Say hi to the people.
Hello, people.
So energetic and enthusiastic as always. Haiqa, thanks so much for making the trip. Really appreciate you coming in. The first question I always like to ask people, like, wo हमेशा misread कर लेते सवाल को, always ask like how you're doing and how things are. I want to elaborate this time. I mean, like, how are you? How are the things that matter to you in your life going? How is your life going? And just how are you? How's everything? How are you? That's what my first question is.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I don't know why you asked me to be on your podcast. I feel very special right now.
Kya ho gaya?
But yeah, I'm good. I've been juggling a lot of things that I'm passionate about and trying to make them work at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that I'm able to, pull this off.
Yeah. No, that's why you're on the podcast, because I think it's absolutely incredible. For those of you who don't know, you do so many things, so many different things in a day. You're a trainer. You give people personal training sessions. You conduct classes all during the day. And then after that, you go and put on your superhero outfit and you're a dentist, you know what I mean? Full-time practicing dentist. And apart from that, you're always just out and about doing some crazy shit, which I want to speak to you about in a bit, like that cycling thing you did.
Yeah.
Crazy. You know what I mean? Just like every week, it's like Haiqa's doing something, you know what I mean? Something. It's always very refreshing to see that kind of thing. But how hard is it, like balancing two polar opposites, like training people and also like dental work?
It is hard. The time management's a little bit difficult, but I have finally found a way to make it work.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't give all of my time to one thing. So that's a bit of a problem. I have to commit specific hours to one thing and, be committed to that. Okay, is time pe mujhe sirf ye karna hai.
Yeah.
So I can't be thinking about my other job. I can't be thinking about, patients or can't be thinking about like other stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to do that. I try to compartmentalize my hours in the day.
Yeah.
And sometimes it gets overwhelming. Sometimes I get super productive and I'm able to manage everything.
Yeah.
But it's never, like consecutive days of productivity or consecutive days of, look, superheroing my way through life. No, it's not.
Yeah, obviously.
Like I have to wake up every day and be like, acha, aaj kya karna tha?
Yeah, obviously.
Sometimes I just, mess up all of them. Sometimes I mess up one.
Yeah.
But
that's just part of being human, I feel like.
It is.
Yeah.
And I learned that over time.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't do everything.
And I actually want to plug this, like, before we get any further into the podcast. If somebody wants to come train with you, what do they got to do? Like, how does that work? And like, what do you like offer? Do you have PT slots open? Do you have like classes people can know about? Just want to plug your stuff right away. Like, feel free to go ahead. And also your dental practice. Like, please just get this, because people don't often wait till the end of the video, which they should, because these are great podcasts. But yeah, no, like, you want to go ahead and
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you want to come train with me, just drop me a DM on Instagram, or you can call up Brave Gym.
Drop the handle, Haiqa.
It's train with Haiqa.
Thank you.
Train.with.Haiqa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do have 2 slots open now. And they're both in the evenings. And I am looking for new clients now.
Yeah.
And other than that, I give an all-girls class from 6:30 to 7:30. And I also teach kids, which is also something I love doing.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
It sounds exhausting.
It's like an infuriating part of my day that also brings me joy.
Yeah, I wanted to actually ask you about that as well. Like, I love kids sometimes. Like, in the sense that when they're like far away and I don't have to speak to them. Other than my niece and nephew, love them to death. But any other kid on the planet, I'm just like, yeah, you are probably going to have some purpose in life moving forward. But right now, I don't want to be around you. How do you like put that? Do you get like, how do you train kids, Haiqa? Like, I cannot wrap my head around how you train kids. It seems like the toughest job in the world to do. I don't know why.
Acha, I don't know. I find kids very intriguing. Like, and I find the kids are very observant. And I've realized that the way that you talk to kids, the way that you treat them or speak to them can have an everlasting impression. Like, for example, as a kid, I was inspired by like complete strangers who probably didn't even think twice about what they said to me, or for like teachers that I had in 3rd grade or 4th grade who said something and it stuck with me for my, for the duration of my life. And I think about that a lot. Like, आप कोई भी छोटी छोटी बात भी कर दें, कुछ कह दें, so they absorb those lessons and it can have an everlasting impact on them. And that intrigues me. And it also makes me think, matlab, it's something that's so, I don't know, sensitive. We don't take it seriously that much. And generally, Pakistan, we don't think twice about how we act around kids or how we talk with kids, how we treat them. And so that bothers me a lot.
Yeah.
But it's also one of the reasons why I like working with kids.
Right.
Why I like working with kids and why I like teaching them. And I just love how they react to different things. When I teach them, when I'm showing them how to throw a punch, the way they pick things up, it's amazing. Like, it actually genuinely amazes me how a 3-year-old girl can memorize a jab, a cross, a hook, and an uppercut, and be able to, do that every day without me reminding her what that is. Like, how do they pick up on some stuff and don't pick up on other stuff? And how do they come up with all of that stuff? Like, this is what brings me joy. Right. So that's probably why I'm able to do it, even though, sometimes like it gets very infuriating when they don't listen, when they're just running around and they're just like, I'm tired. But you wanted to do this. Oh no, I wanted to play. Like, that's what we're doing. No, I don't want to do boxing. Yeah. But it's fun. Yeah. And I look forward to it every day, honestly.
Would it be true to say that maybe teaching kids makes someone a better trainer, in the sense that if I were to take football's example, so what they say in football is that you become a better coach when you're coaching kids. So that's how you start off, because you have to explain concepts. So the general idea, I think, is that you understand things perfectly if you are able to break them down in the simplest of ways, right? Yeah. And I think that's true. I
would agree 100%. Because when we're teaching adults, we assume that they must have like a minimum set of knowledge. Like, they must know this, so maybe we shouldn't be telling them this. But sometimes most adults don't. They don't know कि अच्छा किस तरह खड़े होने हैं और क्या. For example, if you're teaching them kickboxing or anything, we just assume things, right? But with kids, we have to assume they don't know anything. Yeah. So we start from scratch. And if we're able to start from scratch and break down everything and tell them how it's done, how you're standing, you can identify those same problems or that lack of understanding in adults, and you can communicate to the adults even better. Yeah. So that's why I think that, like, you're right about that. Like, if you're able to coach kids or teach kids, then that also makes you a better coach or a better trainer for adults.
Yeah. I think it's so fascinating, like, especially in places like Russia. Like, they have it's a very good case study of how they have created a culture almost where kids get an option to either go to like school, which is, just like regular school, or they have the option of going to like sports school, which is like, you go there, you pick your sport, whatever you're good at. And that's just from a young age. That is what that's your brand. I'm sure they have like some basic level education जो उधर भी देते होंगे, like पढ़ाई लिखाई, math, science, ये सारी जो basics, इस्लामियात, ये सारी चीज यार कसम से Pak studies, इस्लामियात, ये तो आपने खैर इस तरह के उनके भी prereqs होंगे, I'm sure, but उनका जो the reason why you see so many effing killers coming out of like Russian MMA and Russian wrestling at a young age, like 15-year-old kids that you think, you know what I mean?
Ballerinas, the ice skaters, figure skating champions, like they're all from Russia.
Like, they're 15 and they have like a cauliflower ear and they'll like double leg you and throw you into like another part of Russia if they wish to. It's because when kids start learning things from a young age, I feel like those things are ingrained in them for good. And like, that's a scary thing. And that's a lot of responsibility, by the way. Good luck, Haiqa. No, I've seen you run the class. You're perfect with kids. Like, it's incredible just how good you are managing them. Like, anyone else would just lose their shit, But like, it's a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, it's a lot of power that these kids can get from an early age, which is why I'm always like, any parent I meet, I'm just like, hey, you got a kid? put them in boxing, see what happens. You know what I mean? Put them in boxing now and see where they are when they're 10. Like, no kid's gonna mess with them. No kids want to come and like pick a fight with them. And it's the best thing that they can learn, how to throw hands.
The amount of confidence they develop in class when they have confidence in, you know, throwing a punch or throwing a kick or just running around. Like, I've seen the difference in the kids.
Yeah,
It's
just
amazing.
generally, I think your point about, you know, put a kid in boxing and see what happens. Apart from them not getting bullied, I think there's a lot of good work out there that suggests that, you know, a lot of kids who are prone to, you know, bullying and, you know, just generally behavior, शरारती बच्चे जो नहीं होते हमारे उसके अंदर, if you put them in these things, they can channel their energies in a much more productive and a more, I think, controlled manner. So that you never ever, I'm like, you always hear of MMA fighters who became MMA fighters because they were bullied. You never hear of someone who learned mixed martial arts at a young age and then became a bully. You know what I'm saying? Right? So no one, you teach them in a way that they know how to control it, and no one ever uses MMA to like sort of become a menace, so to speak.
There's a lot of obviously variables involved, like who teaches you, what your training environment is, and what kind of mindset you keep. You can still be an a-hole if you've trained like martial arts, that's for sure. But most of the time, if this works for adults, and it worked for me, I'm pretty sure it worked for you as well, the moment you step foot on the mat and you want to, you know, like you have a lot of shit in your head and you want to get rid of, when you start training MMA or boxing or kickboxing or wrestling, that stuff is just so like easily channeled. And if you can do that as an adult, then imagine what kind of a, you know, like mindset you're developing just from a young age of somebody who has an avenue.
There was this one kid who came for a couple of classes, and he was 6 years old. I think you might remember him. His name was Haris.
Okay.
And his dad was an MMA enthusiast, is an MMA enthusiast, and he, you know, he's enrolled his son in BJJ lessons, and they're from Sweden or Norway, I think. I forgot. They were visiting Pakistan. And he was amazing the way that 6-year-old moved. And I was actually kind of worried because I thought, what if his dad's forcing him into this? Because he was very serious. He wouldn't talk to the other kids. He would just do his shadow and he'd be like ta 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 ta. And all the other kids were like, what is happening? And, you know, I would say sprawl, or I would call out, you know, whatever I wanted them to do. And he would do it immediately. No whining, no, you know, like no normal kid stuff. And he was very disciplined. And then he would run to his dad between the breaks and just sit there. And his dad would be like, okay, now you have to do this. Now you have to do that. So I thought, I was just amazed, like 6-year-old. And his dad told me that he's winning tournaments all over Europe. And then he, you know, they still send me videos of him winning tournaments, and I'm like, wow. Like this kid, just because his dad was an enthusiast, and he got him enrolled into this, and the kid doesn't even know how skilled he is. The kid doesn't even know, you know, where he's going. And
that's incredible.
It's just, I was wow. I was like, you know, इस age पे अगर आप बच्चों को किसी एक चीज पे डाल दें या थोड़ा सा आप उनको वो कर दें, so they're able to make connections so fast, and they're able to develop their skills so fast. It's mind-blowing.
Well, that's one of the 2 classes. And then there's, of course, the women's only class you mentioned. I want to talk to you about generally, like, you've been in gyms a lot of your life. You've trained in a lot of martial arts gyms as well, if I'm not wrong. And you've obviously been around fitness and everything for yourself, I'm sure, for many years now. You're at Brave Gym now. But, like, I don't want to talk, like, any gym in specific, but all of the places you've been in over time, like, have you noticed any specific patterns when it comes to women being or not being in the gym? And like, so my biggest question, and I work in a gym, so like this is our biggest question all the time. We're just banging our head against the wall. It's like, why can't we get more women through the door in a gym, and make them feel like I guess comfortable enough to be in here and actually train freely, and then B, like, you know, we're just always trying to figure out, like, age-old question on men are trying to figure out, what do women want? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and especially when it comes to specifically like things like fitness, and it gets very, like, it's a very complex question, so to speak. But what have your observations been, and what do you think is there or isn't there that can like kind of help us all have like more fitness kind of a culture in Pakistan for women?
I guess there's there's multiple reasons for this.
Of course, yeah.
I think the biggest one would be that the fitness industry itself is very male dominated,
Yeah.
right? So we have all of these sports and it's mostly men promoting it, you know, men's teams and all of that. And women aren't generally associated with the fitness industry that much.
Yeah.
It has begun to change for, you know, major cities like Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore. Aap dekhenge ke there's a revolution. There are more female fitness trainers. There's more women involved in the fitness industry. But there's still superstitions about fitness for women. There's still taboos कि अच्छा mixed gyms में नहीं जाना है, अच्छा weightlifting नहीं करनी है. And the major concern for women even going to a gym is to lose weight, right? कि हमने weight lose करना है, पतले होना है. And there is no other concept of fitness other than to lose weight. And that's about it for most women, right? तो बहुत कम बंदियाँ होंगी who will pursue fitness as a lifestyle and not as a quick way to lose
compulsion
weight.
Almost.
Yeah. So I would definitely say there's a lack of awareness, right? And surrounding especially the MMA culture and the kickboxing culture, again, it's a general lack of awareness because it's considered a man's sport. And so you don't see a lot of female representation, mostly because women don't know if they can do this.
Yeah.
They don't know if it's there. So I've had girls ask me if they join kickboxing, would it affect their hormones? Would it affect their bodies? And, you know, and I'm like, no, it would not. And you know how like when girls are younger, they're like they're told कि horse riding नहीं करनी है आपने.
Yeah.
आपने कोई इस तरह के sports नहीं खेलने हैं because you know you might like mess something up inside.
Right.
Like girls literally get warned about that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is all bullcrap.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally.
But it leads to this kind of psychological and this social thing where women think that they don't belong in the gym. So I think that one of the reasons why there aren't that many women in gyms is because, number one, what they want from a gym is something that they can also get at home to weight loss. They can just, you know, restrict their diet. They can फाके काट सकती हैं, वो fasting कर सकती हैं. तो उनका purpose वहाँ पे भी पूरा हो रहा है. ठीक है. दूसरा, I guess, reason यही होगा कि gyms are always crowded with men.
Yeah.
And it does create a certain level of discomfort for women. You'll notice that all women's gyms like AimFit, for example, they're crowded the entire time because women are a huge market for fitness. But how we're gonna catch that market, how we need to you know actually target that market is a very it's complicated, but also not as complicated.
Yeah.
So most female-only gyms market the whole weight loss thing. That you come here, you lose weight in this many days in this many classes.
Yeah.
And women will crowd to that.
Boot camp like
boot camp. So they won't understand that fitness can become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like for example, you'll notice that more men are more educated about what the gym life is. They're more educated about what kind of supplements they need to take, what kind of weights they need to hit, what kind of their nutrition and their programming. But women generally don't have information or knowledge about that stuff. It's because they don't look at fitness as a lifestyle. They think of it as okay, we need to get our weight back in control.
It's a result-based thing.
Yeah, so even the girls who come for kickboxing and MMA, they're not that much. Most of them come because they discovered it through someone, or they found out this is an amazing way to let out a lot of anger, to just or they got they get something out of kickboxing. They get a sense of satisfaction. They get to learn, and it's the same with jiu-jitsu. And so women who find that kind of satisfaction from kickboxing and MMA stick to it. It's the reason I stuck to it, because it was like you said, like you get on the mats, you start hitting a bag, and you just it's kind of like ranting, but on the mats, right? And you're just ranting in your head
with your limbs,
and it's very cathartic. So it's therapeutic, basically. And women who find it therapeutic stick to it. And but for them to actually get to that point, to be exposed to MMA and kickboxing as something that can be therapeutic, they need to get past the idea that it's a man's sport, that only men belong on the mats, or that there isn't enough space for them. or that they can do this, like there needs to be like a little bit more education and more awareness about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's generally changing in this country. Like more women are aware of this. We had no female fighters like a couple of years ago, and now we have a whole bunch in so many different cities.
Yeah.
Fighting in local leagues, fighting internationally. And so I definitely see the culture changing. But yeah, I think that the main reason why we don't see a lot of women in gyms is mostly because of this lack of awareness.
Yeah.
And this general association of fitness as a man's space.
Yeah.
And the idea that only weight loss is what women are looking for.
Yeah.
In the gym life.
Yeah, weight loss is dangerous. Like fat loss is different. Like fat loss means you're burning fat, but probably still at the same weight.
But it's not seen as that. We think of it, we just want weight loss. We don't care if it's muscle mass we're losing or if it's, because if it was fat specific fat loss, then it would be a specific lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And not just, कि आप keto करके मर गए.
Literally, yeah.
तो क्योंकि weight isn't a good indicator of your health.
Yeah.
आपने 10 किलो lose कर लिया, आप healthy नहीं हो गए हो, आप पतले हो गए हो.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's a lack of education and there's a lack of awareness regarding fitness as a lifestyle.
Yeah, obviously. And like the whole, so you mentioned kickboxing and MMA as well. I'll get to that in a second because you have generally been around the thing for a while. Like we're saying that women are propping up now as fighters, but for the most part, like even now as a matchmaker, I can tell you that getting Iman Khan as an opponent is a nightmare. How many times have I come up to you and said, Iman Khan se ladna? Like, how many times, Haiqa? 8 this month.
I get $1 for every time you asked me.
We'd have a lot of dollars, especially with that exchange rate. But yeah, dude, it's still a problem. Like abhi, for example, Grudge Fighting Championship where just Islamabad ja rahe hain this coming week. Or ab tak shayad ho chuka, I don't know when this is going to go up, but whenever you're going to Grudge Fighting Championship that has 3 different women's fights, which is very, very refreshing to see, and probably the first time in
3?
Pakistan.
Wow, usually there's just one token fight.
Yeah,
right?
One token fight. It's like, oh, these two have fought 6 times and go se lada dete. You know what I mean? Like, or ab like Iman ke liye opponent dhuna. So I mean, it's still, yes, the idea of progressive thought is that it progresses with time. So naturally, jaise waqt badh raha hai, to ye cheezein bhi change ho rahi hain. But at the same time, I still think it's very, very less compared to, of course, MMA को सिर्फ 15 साल हुए हैं, kickboxing को शायद से थोड़ी ज़्यादा हुए हैं, wushu को थोड़ी ज़्यादा हुए हैं. You'll see female fighters on university level competitions even sometimes, but for some reason it never translates into full. I mean, I'm sure there's many reasons why it doesn't, but it rarely ever translates to like them pursuing sports or fitness as a career path, because I feel like they always feel like there's not enough of the pie to go around for everyone to make enough or get enough opportunities. And I think, yeah, you're right. The only way we can really change that if we start, and by we, I mean like women and men both start making these spaces more accessible to women.
Plus, आप ये भी देखो कि पाकिस्तान में the only career making sport is cricket.
Yeah.
Right? फिर आप MMA या kickboxing ले लो. MMA and kickboxing may be female fighters. They're basically at the bottom of the, like career making food chain.
Yeah.
How are they gonna make a career out of,
एक तो आप MMA fighter हो पाकिस्तान में और आप एक औरत हो, like और कोई disadvantage चाहिए आपको? आपका एक बाजू नहीं है, like congrats, like और कुछ रह गए. Yeah, it is really tough, and like Iman is doing well for herself, because I feel like she's able to. A lot of people in that position would just be confused as to what to even do. Like,
exactly.
मैंने fight कर लिया यार, so अब क्या करूँ? Like literally, that is a big problem. But what was it like for you when you started kickboxing and going to an MMA gym and just like training around? I'm pretty sure primarily just men. अगर I think वो एक अरवा आ जाती थी तो क्या बात है? Like, you know what I mean? You have a grappling partner. But what was it like for you? Like, did you feel like like this very small sample size of men that we're kind of speaking about, but at the same time, did you feel like you were welcome, or there was anything that would sometimes hinder you from like taking your game up a level?
No,
or something
I always felt like I was welcome.
Unwelcome?
Welcome.
Okay, welcome. Like, yeah.
So that's not the thing, because obviously पहले इतनी कम लड़कियां आ रही हैं. कोई आ भी जाती थी तो like wow. Please मैम आपके लिए ये सारे मैट्स आप इधर करें.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I loved the training. I loved learning new things every day. I loved figuring out, grappling moves. I loved figuring out whether I could kick at this angle or whether I could punch this hard. And I loved seeing how far I could push my body. कि अच्छा क्या मैं ये कर सकती हूँ? Would I be able to pull this combo off? Can I, keep my stamina up for this long? Or I loved the training, especially because it was so cathartic and so therapeutic for me. And during that point in my life, it was the thing that I looked forward to every day. And when it comes to the gyms, like gyms का scene कभी बहुत on होता था, कभी बहुत off होता था. मसला ये था कि there was a lack of consistency in programming for the gyms. So after I realized that, I would reach a point where I realized that I can't learn anything new now. What do I do? So, and I'm the kind of person, like, I've never been a gym person. I've always been a sports person. Like, you put me in a volleyball court, in a basketball court, and I could play all day. But you put me in a gym, I would just probably like, क्या करूँ मैं यहाँ पे यार? मैं एक सारा दिन खड़ी होकर weights उठाऊँ, कौन करता है ये?
Same.
I would just get bored and I would just walk out. I've never been able to stick to a workout by myself. Ever. ठीक है, I just can't. I don't have the motivation to do that.
Yeah.
But that has changed now and over time. But before that, like, I could play anything. I was into all kinds of sports. I played tennis, badminton, swimming, horse riding. पता नहीं क्या क्या, हर चीज में घुसी हुई होती थी. But I was never the kind of person who would go to a gym just to work out.
Just to work
right?
out,
Because
yeah.
I didn't think of working out as a means to, stay fit or lose weight or anything. I always wanted it to be fun. Something I could, physically and mentally engage in, like a game, like when you're actually playing a sport. And kickboxing and MMA was both. So it was one way for me to, come to a gym, train, push myself, and also keep learning. So with the gyms, masla yahi hota tha ki after a point, you would hit a dead end. It'd be like, अच्छा, what do I do now? मैंने ये भी सीख लिया, वो भी सीख लिया, फलाना भी सीख लिया, टीना भी सीख लिया. तो ये एक थोड़ा सा मुझे मसला होता था. उसके बाद फिर I guess it started to lose a little bit of its charm. तो थोड़ी सी इसलिए बीच में I stopped training and I didn't really look forward going to the gym. फिर gyms भी बंद होते थे, बार बंद हो रहे हैं, खुल रहे हैं. फिर pandemic आ गया, फिर Brave खुल गया, तो फिर दोबारा से I started training again. Then I realized कि okay, I need to train more consistently, because obviously you stop training for a while, you forget your muscle memory, it's you need to recover all of that. तो काफ़ी अर्से तक तो फिर मैं बस इसी चीज़ को ही recover करती रहती थी. I would come and train and be like, oh okay, I can still do this. I still have my flexibility. I still have that muscle memory. So I just need to work on that. And I loved teaching. Yeah. And that's how I got into teaching beginners MMA.
So you mentioned that a lot of women have misconceptions about going to the gym, working hard, being in the fitness life, pursuing that as a passion, let alone MMA and all the variants of that. So how did you get into this whole space, and then the transition from being someone who learns this to teaching? How did that come about? I'm really interested.
Acha, so I started doing taekwondo when I was 14, and I loved it. I was really good at it. And this was back when I was living in Hyderabad. And then we moved. I got my red belt. I was, I think, 6 months away from getting my black belt. And then we moved to Multan.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Whoa. 6 months short of being a taekwondo black belt?
Why do you think my kicks are so high?
I don't know. I just thought you were good at kicking. I don't know you're a black belt.
No, because taekwondo is all about kicking, right?
No, I don't want to spar you now. I know I've said like, let's spar someday. Not anymore, dude. You're almost a black belt. Crazy. मुझे नहीं पता था.
Like, it's
इमरान खान से लड़ना. Yeah, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt.
अच्छा, तो that's why I always like, मुझे थोड़ा सा martial arts का उसी वजह से शौक पैदा हुआ था, क्योंकि taekwondo करती थी. फिर उसके बाद we moved to Multan, and when I was in A levels in Multan, I remember I would see there was I don't know if I read it in the paper or online about Synergy opening in Lahore, and the godfather of MMA coming to Pakistan and starting this whole gym and shit. और मैं कहती थी, wow, मुझे भी मुए थाई सीखना है.
Godfather. He's right there, yeah.
So, dude, I was like, बस अब जब हम लाहौर जाएंगे, and I knew we were gonna move to Lahore and for university and stuff. तो हम लोग इधर we shifted to Lahore, but the thing is कि BDS के दौरान you don't get time at all. ऊपर से जो depression होता है med school and dental school में, forget about it.
I've heard med school बड़ा difficult होता. Yeah.
Really?
Shit show.
I've just heard, yeah.
Like समझो आपको चबा कर ना फिर चिंगम की तरह थूकते थे बाहर कि जाए अब आप पेशेंट्स का इलाज करें.
और उसके बाद भी फिर and after all of that
me I'm the doctor. That's kind of how you get churned out in this country.
और उसके बावजूद बेचारे जो unfairly even though you've been part of the system, you've been churned out, it's been hell for you, लोग कहते हैं डेंटिस्ट तो नहीं डॉक्टर होते.
Right, that guy is saying right.
It's a lot of people, yeah. Even one of our co-workers at Brave, वो भी regularly कहता है कि हाइका डॉक्टर थोड़ी होता है डेंटिस्ट. I'm like यार उससे इतनी मेहनत की है यार, खून पसीना आंसू, like क्या चाहता है तू?
पता है the reason I went into dentistry was because it was 1 year less than medicine. और मैंने कहा मैं तो 5 साल पढ़ी
और कुछ है 3 साल वाला है. When you try something,
वो वाला डॉक्टर. Like my parents literally emotionally blackmailed me into this field के बेटा ख्वाब आया था मुझे कि ना हमारी बेटी डॉक्टर. Okay.
My parents never played
अच्छा मैं
that
फिर ये वाला डॉक्टर बनूंगी.
4 साल वाला. But yeah.
So yeah, I hated it in the beginning. Just absolutely hated it. But I love learning and I love science. So I was able to actually, get over it after a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fine. Like the one thing I used to look forward to was कि हमारा पूरे साल में 1 हफ्ते का sports week होता था.
Yeah.
ठीक है, और हर टीम में मैं होती थी.
Of course.
पूरे साल की भड़ास में जो होती थी उन 2 से 3 हफ्तों में निकालनी होती थी. The most aggressive player in all of the teams में सिर्फ जो थी ना लोगों को मारने की जो टीम्स होती थी. आई वाज लाइक कि अच्छा डिफेंडर होती थी या गोलकीपर होती थी या सेंटर गर्ल होती थी, नेट बॉल खेल रहे वो कर रहे, मेरा काम सिर्फ होता था लोगों को मारना, उनको रोकना. आई गॉट नोटोरियस फॉर दिस शिट एंड आई रियलाइज्ड ओके दिस इज नॉट गुड, दिस इज नॉट ओके, आई नीड टू गो टू थेरेपी.
कमाल यार, कमाल.
So फिर इसीलिए फिर the moment I got done with my house job, I was like, okay, time to actually learn how to hit stuff.
And then you actually started training everything.
Then I started training at Synergy in H block.
Yeah.
तो वहाँ पे फिर मैंने start किया था. That's how I entered MMA.
Right.
I was very excited to learn. I was like, अच्छा देखते हैं मतलब क्या सीखने को मिलेगा ये वो.
Yeah.
Right, and obviously you were pushed into becoming a dentist, and like you say, you grew to love the whole thing. What would you have wanted to do if you were given like a blank slate? Like, and would that have then? I'm pretty sure it would have been, I guess, easier to do MMA along with that, because I'm sure dentistry is pretty.
I never actually thought about MMA as a career path or anything. What I had initially wanted to be was a geologist or a geophysicist, or somebody who could just roll around in rocks and shit and be like, look at this pretty
sure, it's a bit more sophisticated than that.
Rolling around in rocks and shit. It's a great description, Haiqa, of your dream job. Yeah,
please cut this out.
Totally keeping
geologists combine against Haiqa.
Yeah, the Union of Geologists is gonna have a word with you. But that's interesting. I never geology, like what you just enjoyed discovering things, I'm guessing. Like how does that work?
I was obsessed with volcanoes, with the tectonic plates, with the mantle, the core, the crust, and figuring out how it all works, geothermal energy and whatnot, rock formations, etc. I had like bachpan se hi, I was obsessed with ek to archaeology, and then later geology.
Wow.
So but that dream was quickly crushed by my father, who said कि तुम्हें पता है ना archaeologist चपरासी से भी कम पैसा कमाते हैं. And I was like,
you should be like, don't worry, I'm also going to be an MMA fighter on the side. So I'll make equally as not much money. Yeah. But so from digging through rocks to digging through teeth. What a great segue, by the way. Thank you very much. But like, what's dentistry like? Like so sorry, bro, but like my thing is like I can't imagine doing a job where I have to look at other people's teeth. Like I think I've talked about this in the gym as well. It's like again, you teach kids, commendable. You look at people's teeth, also commendable. Like, what is the worst pair of teeth you've seen?
How can she discuss? How can
nice
she?
to talk about somebody's teeth.
You have to name them, but I'm just like, have you seen interesting things in
Even if
people's
she
teeth?
did name, हमें क्या पता होगा कोई होगा
He or she might be watching, bro. Like you never know. But no, like what's it like being a dentist day to day, like having to go through that stuff?
It's a very anxiety-inducing job. Because you're always like, oh shit, did I fuck something up?
Yeah.
And
जो बैठा होता है उसको ज़्यादा anxiety होती है.
But yeah, शुरू में तो बहुत ज़्यादा था, but then I realized that it's all mostly because of the system जहाँ पे हमने पढ़ा है ना, it doesn't empower students with the confidence. ठीक है, आप graduate करके निकल रहे हो ना, the same professors who taught you are going to sell their private courses to you कि मैं आपको सिखाता हूँ रूट कनाल कैसे करनी है.
4 साल और लगाएं आप.
हाँ, आप ये हमारा 1.5 लाख 3 लाख का 3 महीने का कोर्स करें, हम आपको सिखाते हैं. भाई जो मैंने 4 साल पैसे दिए थे किस चीज के दिए थे? तो ये एक बड़ी गेम है ना पाकिस्तान में चल रही होती है, जिसकी वजह से students when they get out, if they feel like if they don't do something like this, they might not know, you know, the secret trick to, you know, doing a root canal in 12 minutes or or how to not make babies cry while pulling out their teeth. So we all think that there's maybe, you know, the professors or our teachers, or maybe they're hogging something, and, you know, the only way we can get to it is if we take their private courses, if we, you know, go to this workshop or that workshop. तो which is why I feel like बहुत सारे students में, most of my colleagues, उनमें वो confidence ही नहीं आता. Like it takes a shitload of confidence to open up your own private practice, to believe in yourself कि okay, you know, I am capable to deal with live patients without, you know, constantly having somebody hover over me. That कि जो मैंने 4 साल सीखा है, it's enough to open up a practice, right? And generally हम लोगों को ये वाला वो चीज़ नहीं मिलती है कॉलेज की तरफ से. इवन विद द जो मेरे MBBS ग्रेजुएट्स वगैरह होते थे, जितने ऑल ऑफ माई फ्रेंड्स, नोटिस द सेम थिंग इन देम. लाइक even after they graduate, they don't have that level of self-esteem. Not in Pakistan. हम लोग कहते हैं ना कि भाई वो डॉक्टर से एहतजाज कर रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, वो कर रहे हैं, एम ही नहीं कर रहे होते. They have to treat patients in situations where it's impossible to treat patients. ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स में जहाँ पे इतनी अनएथिकल चीज़ें हो रही होती हैं, जहाँ पे डॉक्टर्स की खुद मोरालिटी, उनकी वैल्यूज़ क्लैश कर रही होती कॉन्स्टेंटली विद हाउ दे हैव टू एग्जीक्यूट देयर ड्यूटीज़ कॉन्स्टेंटली. तो बंदे लोग साइको हो जाते. दे आइदर गो नंब, they either go completely indifferent to the patients, or they just quit the profession and go into academics because they can't deal with the kind of things they have to do or the kind of things they have to see during their career.
Right. What do you mean clash kari thi morality? Like in what sense? You don't have to name any specific instances.
So no, I'll explain it to you very easily. कि जब students जो होते हैं ना, हम लोगों को, have you heard of the Hippocrates oath? Like once we graduate, we, you know, recite the Hippocrates oath, कि we'll treat every patient regardless of their religion, creed, race, etc., or, you know, regardless of who they are, the enemy, a friend, whatever. Okay, so we take an oath like that. And when you go into the practical field, when you're working in a hospital or in a clinic or even in the, you know, the university clinics, you'll notice that the same people who taught us will have a completely different they will have a completely different behavior towards paying patients and non-paying patients, right? तो जो आपके पास गवर्नमेंट खाते पे आपके पास पेशेंट्स आ रहे हैं, वो बेसिकली आपके लिए जो है ना भेड़ बकरियां हैं. और आपके पास जो प्राइवेट में पेशेंट्स आ रहे हैं, यू जस्ट हैव टू बी अ रियली गुड सेल्समैन फॉर देम. और बीच में फिर जो स्टूडेंट्स जो होते हैं ना, जो कि 3rd year और 4th year में एंटर होते हैं, देयर फाइनली अलाउड टू टच पेशेंट्स टू, एंड वो लाइक हम लोग के जहन में होता है कि भाई इनसे बहुत तमीज़ से बात करनी है. वी हैव टू मेक देम फील कंफर्टेबल बिकॉज, यू नो, दे ट्रस्टिंग अस to treat whatever is wrong with their mouth, and if we fuck this up, they might not ever go to a dentist again. Just because, you know, like they felt bad, or they felt like कि भाई ये तो बहुत दर्द वाला काम है, हमने नहीं कराना, which means that they will deprive themselves of they will not let themselves get checked, they would deprive themselves of, you know, access to health just because they felt uncomfortable, which is what happens in Pakistan. बहुत सारे patients नहीं जाते डॉक्टर के पास कि भाई नहीं अच्छा हमने उनको बस फ़ोन पे कोई दवाई बता दें, या जब तक मरने वाली दर्द नहीं होगी हमने नहीं जाना. This happens a lot. तो students जब उस point पे आते हैं, they notice how their seniors or their professors are treating patients. For me personally, it was, you know, a wake-up call. I was like, ये क्या हो रहा है? So, for example, you can't, you know, comment on a patient's oral health or their oral condition in front of them. कि अच्छा आपके बड़े गंदे दांत, आप दांत नहीं ब्रश करते, इस तरह की बात तो नहीं कर सकते आप पेशेंट को. आप किसी डॉक्टर को दिखाने जा रहे हो, डॉक्टर कह रहे हैं कि मुंह नहीं धोकर आए आप, मुंह धोकर आए, तो पार्लर वाले के पास थोड़ी आए आप, डॉक्टर को चेक कराने आए. तो मुझे ये बताओ, तो मुझे कोई इन्फेक्शन तो नहीं हुई भी, व्हाई आर यू कमेंटिंग ऑन मैंने मुंह धोया या नहीं धोया हुआ. तो इस तरह की चीज़ें काफ़ी मैं नोट करती थी, यू नो. फिर केयरलेसनेस व्हेन इट कम्स टू टॉकिंग टू पेशेंट्स, ट्रीटिंग देम. It all of it made me, you know, very conflicted about कि अच्छा मतलब हम ऐसे क्यों बात कर रहे हैं पेशेंट्स के साथ, या ऐसे क्यों उनको ट्रीट कर रहे हैं, या मतलब कि ये लोग ऐसे कर सकते हैं. तो एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट सा आ गया था. फिर आप प्राइवेट प्रैक्टिस में जाते हैं तो उसमें कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट होता है. प्राइवेट प्रैक्टिस इज कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट टू, you know, what you taught in school. Like half the things you learn in private practice under someone कि ओ अच्छा ये भी होता है, ये तो हमें 4 साल में नहीं सिखाया था कि हमने ये भी करना होता है, और ये भी एक तरीका होता है, और ये जो चीज़ें हमने 3 महीने लगा कर ये चैप्टर पढ़ा था उसका तो कोई फ़ायदा ही नहीं, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में तो ये चीज़ें मिलती ही नहीं है. तो सिलेबस कभी आउटडेटेड होता है. फिर काफ़ी इस तरह की मतलब वो लाइक आई सेड कि वो आपकी मॉरल वैल्यूज़ और वो काफ़ी क्लैश करती हैं. लाइक कि अच्छा मैं अपनी प्रैक्टिस चलाऊँ, मैं गरीबों का मुफ्त में इलाज करूं, मैं क्या करूं, मैं कहाँ जाऊं. ठीक है. फिर कोई फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट, क्लिनिकल मैनेजमेंट नहीं सिखाई जाती. ज़ीरो बिजनेस सेंस. ठीक है. डॉक्टर्स और डेंटिस्ट के पास ज़ीरो, नील, नाडा. अनलेस उनका अब्बू बिजनेसमैन है या पहले से उनका क्लिनिक चल रहा है, दे विल नॉट नो हाउ टू चार्ज पेशेंट्स, हाउ टू रन अ प्रैक्टिस, हाउ टू मैनेज देयर फाइनेंसेस, हाउ to put value in their own services. कि जो मैं काम कर रही हूँ उनकी कोई value है and I need to charge at least this much. We'll be like अच्छा ठीक है हम कर देते हैं, नहीं कर देते. तो बहुत वो clashes आ जाते that we never prepared for during the 4 years that we actually pay for.
Yeah. Do you think that it correlates with, at least in Pakistan, with the concept of how so many doctors and you know, doctors are pushed into the profession by their parents, and people who aren't really, you know, genuinely interested or don't find practicing medicine as a form of fulfillment, don't have a passion for it. And when you have an a-hole mixed with, you know, being pushed into a place that they don't want to be, it ends up producing the sort of people who are like, yaar
butcher basically,
muft mein aaya hai, isko to side pe karo, let me like mint some money here. And do you think that could be corrected if we actually let people decide for themselves if they want to become doctors or not? And then naturally,
also that and better litigation laws, like people should be able to sue their medical practitioners. Pakistan में
तो generally यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं sue कर सकते आप.
नहीं कर सकते आपके पास, क्योंकि एक तो अवल तो ये कि obviously you make patient sign, you know, consent forms and all of that, right? दूसरे the patient isn't really told कि उनकी legal rights क्या हैं when they're getting private
consent forms होते हैं.
हाँ कंसेंट फॉर्म्स होते हैं.
मैं 8 साल डेंटिस्ट के पास गया हूँ, मेरे से तो किसी ने कुछ भी साइन नहीं करवाया.
कुछ क्लिनिक्स में होते हैं, कुछ में नहीं होते हैं. जिनमें नहीं होते हैं उनको लगता है कि शायद कुछ हो नहीं सकता.
I wouldn't have signed up for 8 years of that shit.
Yeah,
if I had known.
Ismail had braces,
and
from the first time I met him.
No, that's not true.
Literally,
now he's just
literally. What did you not have braces in grade 4?
No, I did not.
Okay, sorry. When did you get braces?
Grade 8.
And how long were they on you?
They were there by the time I got to uni. So that guy, at one point I was like, these are never coming off. These are just there. I have to accept them. और वो मुझे उसने शुरू में कहा था 2 साल बाद तो जाएंगे. मैंने कहा ठीक है यार 2 साल perfectly reasonable. I mean my mom and dad sold me on 2 साल बाद. और एंड पे ये पॉइंट आ गया था कि बीच में 4-5 साल के बाद लाइक कब उतर रहे हैं, कब बस लास्ट आपकी सिटिंग है लास्ट. और इट गॉट टू 8 years. आई एम लाइक आई डोंट इवन केयर एनीमोर. बुला रहे हो मैं आ जाऊंगा. I'll just sit here and then go home. I
have submitted to the system.
Yeah.
Did you take my money?
No, but like payment हम पूरी कर चुके थे. He just used to like कोई तीसरी साल में पेमेंट खत्म हो गई थी. He's like तुम आते रहो. I was like ठीक है सही है आते जा रहे हैं.
I think you just drew a very bad dentist. Like, and I remember one day Ismi just showed up and मैंने दरवाजा खोला and he's just standing there like I was like, what, bro? Like, yeah, what do you want me to kiss you? What do you want? Like, और फिर वो ये करता है. I'm like, oh snap! Like it was a big moment for us. Like
for me,
for us. Like
I was like, these are off finally. मैंने उसी dentist के washroom में जाके कुछ 6 दफा देखा था कि are these off now?
It's me with braces and without braces, completely different animal.
Yeah.
Like, it really changes a guy. But Karen, I mean, I really need to. I've been putting off my dental appointment with you for a while.
Yeah, dude. You get that OPG and, just WhatsApp it to me. And
see you next Monday. Like I've been saying for the last 8 Mondays. But yeah, Haiqa, you have, if I'm not wrong, volunteered, switching gears a little bit, but you have volunteered with or worked with Aurat March. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And what's that experience been like for you? Like,
it was amazing. I started volunteering for them in 2020. Yeah, I went to the 2019 March. That was my first ever March.
Yeah.
And my parents went home and they thought, they didn't know I was going there. उन्होंने तो मुझे strictly मना किया हुआ था. So I went there and it was just amazing. The vibe there, and I didn't know anyone there because none of my friends came to the March except for, I remember Ramla from Jiu-Jitsu came and also one of my other kickboxing friends, Fatma. And those were the only 2 girls I knew who came, and I just followed them around कि अच्छा कहाँ जा रहे हो तुम लोग और ये क्या हो रहा है क्या होगा हाँ. So it was amazing. I think I was at a point in my life where I was going through some stuff and going through that whole process of where you think oh, nothing's gonna make a difference, what's the point in doing a protest, what's the point in going somewhere, and then reaching a point where you're saying if it's not gonna make a difference, then why not? Like if literally nothing's gonna change, then might as well do it, and then just actually going there. And in 2020 I signed up to volunteer, and I would try to go to as many meetings and workshops as possible to learn. And I realized that there was so much that I had in my head that I knew about, that I had thought about, that I couldn't put into words because I didn't know how to. And being surrounded by women who thought the same way, who were able to vocalize those things on the same vibration, it was a mind-blowing experience. I was like, what? You think the same as me? What?
Yeah.
And I was like, ah. And there was just this instant connection with all of these women. It was genuinely like, I'm getting chills talking about it because I still remember how I felt. That feeling of being heard and understood and being like, और भी लोग हैं इसका जो कि अच्छा सबको पता है ये चुतियापा हो रहा है हमारे साथ
हम सबको ये बिल्कुल भी पसंद नहीं है. Yeah, no, I get you.
तो that was amazing. उसके बाद से तो
go on, nothing happened. Whoa, yeah.
तो उसके बाद से तो फिर I made sure to volunteer every year, and I would try to do as much as I could. Like the first year, I remember I embroidered these little badges जिनके ऊपर मैंने लिखा था Aurat March 2020 ताकि हम लोग fundraiser पे बेच सकें.
Nice.
And I volunteered for the media team. तो उसमें हम लोग different shows या podcasts or online shows पे जाकर बात करते थे. And I remember I memorized the entire manifesto, and I would debate them with with the other volunteers. And so we could talk about them, so we could defend our points, and so we could be able to have a proper educated argument about them. And it was amazing. It was a great learning experience. I learned so much about our laws, about feminist jurisprudence, about feminist history, and about intersectional feminism, things that I had never actively looked into. Then I realized that, oh, this is something that I don't know about. This is something that I should be able to talk about, to be able to speak about with other people. And it's been amazing. And then the next year, 2021, that was just actually 2020 ke fauran baad hi corona aa gaya tha. 2021 wali, and every year the march keeps growing. That's what that's
incredible.
The best part. Like every year, there's going to be something new against us. There's gonna be something new happening. Like last year, there were blasphemy allegations. France का झंडा आपने चढ़ाया हुआ है. इस्लामाबाद और मार्च के पीछे पड़ गए थे सारे. कराची वालों के पीछे पड़ गए थे. पता नहीं क्या किया. Like you think about it, some guy will come up with that reason.
उनके प्राइम मिनिस्टर हैं जो
हाँ लेकिन
Blasphemy.
औरत मार्च का फ्रांस के झंडे के साथ
ये उन्होंने फ्रांस का झंडा दिखाया, that means they're
Women's
blasphemous
Democratic Front
and-
का जो था झंडा था और आज़ादी मार्च इस्लामाबाद पे लाया गया था जिसके
अच्छा।
सिमिलर कलर्स थे
टू फ्रांस.
हाँ ठीक है.
अच्छा.
तो मौलवी ने कहा फ्रांस का झंडा ये चल उड़ा रही हैं और ब्लास्फेमी.
Yeah.
They tried to sue them for blasphemy.
Yeah, I hate this country.
It
Yeah.
was.
You
I was like, what? मैंने कहा नहीं ये मजाक होगा.
it's a lot of it is mockery. You would think it's ironic, but then the pain is that
I was
it's
like,
not
I
ironic.
genuinely think कि क्या वाकई में कोई ऐसे कर सकता है?
Yeah.
फिर I remember जो लाहौर वाली मार्च थी उसके बीच में we had this giant red banner और a lot of women had collected to paint that banner with stories of incidences that they'd faced, you know, of violence that they had borne, of situations that they had survived. And एक लड़की ने लिखा हुआ था कि somebody had a story on that banner about how they were assaulted by their own father. All right. And I remember कि इंटरनेट पे फिर किसी ने वो स्पेसिफिक बैनर की पिक्चर क्रॉप करके लगाई हुई थी and they were insinuating that कि ये देखे ये भी गुस्ताखी की हुई है. They tried to कि हाँ कि ये भी blasphemy की हुई है. And they try to associate that girl's story with saying कि अच्छा ये 6 साल की लड़की थी और ये पता नहीं बंदा कितने का था, ये जो है प्रॉफिट के अगेंस्ट बात कर रहे हैं. और and मैंने कहा what? How
Yeah,
did
the biggest logical leaps of all time.
What is happening here? Like
Profit.
it was freaky because the way that they were spinning things out of everything, it was genuinely scary. Honestly. और फिर जो हया मार्च की थी ये जमात इस्लामी वालों ने कि हम लोग माल रोड पे जब वो करेंगे इस्लामाबाद वालों के ऊपर तो अटैक किया था उन्होंने बकायदा पत्थर शत्थर मारे थे. Things were getting really out of hand last year. But every year, you know, no matter how much fun we're made out of, जितना हमारा मजाक उड़ता है, जितना हमारे ऊपर गाली गलोच होती, every year we're proven right. Every year we're shown कि पाकिस्तान में औरतों के हकूक़ का क्या सूरत हाल है. हर महीने आपको कोई ना कोई खबर मिलती है टीवी पे, फिर सारे अपने मुंह लेकर बैठे हुए होते हैं कि अच्छा मतलब मुझे ये समझ नहीं आती कि यही लोग, ये एंकर्स और टीवी शो होस्ट्स और ये जमात इस्लामी के लीडर्स या व्हाटएवर, मतलब जो भी हैं स्पीकर्स वगैरह, हाउ डू दे गेट द ऑडेसिटी टू टॉक अबाउट कि औरतों के पास सारे हकूक़ है, व्हेन एवरी मंथ यू हैव 100 different cases of violence against women, most of which go unaddressed, and there's literally nothing being done to, you know, deal with that.
Yeah. Except like things like Aurat March, where people actively go out and try to change
Aurat March
those things.
is genuinely, I would tell you, it's an expression of anger by the women.
Yeah.
Because they're just आप क्यों सड़कों पे बाहर निकलोगे? When just simply politely asking for basic rights isn't working, that's when you get out on the streets. That's when you try to make a noise, right? That's when you start protesting. It took me some time to understand why protesting matters. And then I realized that getting out on the streets isn't the only way to protest. It is one of the ways, but it's one of the most powerful ways, I would say. Because of the optics, the strength, the numbers, and the community it forms. People are able to understand that there are other people out there who are going through the same thing, who are angry about the same issues. And if this is a democracy, it needs to be run by the people, right? Until the government understands that these people are angry because they're not getting these rights, we need to do something about it. That's how you get them to, you know, focus on the rights that we're demanding. That's how you get them to pay attention to what we're asking for. To make reforms, to pass bills that actually, you know, bring change. Domestic violence वाले बिल को सिर्फ पास होने में, धक्का स्टार्ट होने में, और फिर मेरे ख्याल में 6-7 साल तो उसको लगे थे.
Yeah.
फिर जो वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट लॉ है, अमेंडमेंट बिल अभी रिसेंटली अमेंड हुआ है, उसमें इतने लूप होल्स थे कि उसका वो बिल ना ही होता तो सेम बात होती. But yeah. Basically, like,
and I think I won't let you ask your question right after this, but I think you perfectly summarized for a lot of people, even in our circles, and people who are like, हमारे साथ ही उठते बैठते हैं, हमारे साथ ही खाते पीते हैं, हमारे ही जानने वाले हैं, और हमेशा मैंने ये सवाल, ये जवाब सुना है, लाइक इफ आई आस्क आर यू गोइंग टू औरत मार्च, सो लाइक मेरे जाने से क्या होगा, या मैं क्यों जाऊँ, लाइक कुछ क्या, लाइक वो पेसिमिज्म है कि यार एक और बंदे या बंदी की इंक्लूजन से कुछ चेंज नहीं होने वाला. आई थिंक यू काइंड ऑफ सम दैट अप परफेक्टली, दैट इट्स नॉट जस्ट अबाउट यू, this is bigger than you, like you are part of the problem, so try to be part of the solution. I think it's just as simple as that, right? Yeah, you're saying
It's until it's actually affecting you.
Yeah.
Why would you wanna, get up, get out of your comfortable house,
Yeah.
address your privilege, go to a situation that might make you uncomfortable, to talk about rights that you already enjoy because you're a class above the rest, because you're in a more comfortable place than the rest. Why would you do that, right? You need to be at another level to be able to acknowledge that shit, the things that I have are the things that I only have because I was born in the right household. And
Basically,
this should humble you. Okay, like it could have been taken away. You could have been born in a different house. And what does it need? Like, what does it take for you to be more empathetic towards your, fellow human beings? To be able to acknowledge your own privilege and be like, कि अच्छा मेरे पास एक्चुअली जो फालतू टाइम है वो उसमें कोई काम का एक मतलब कोई काम ही कर लेते हैं यार. किसी की मदद करने चले जाते हैं, किसी के साथ यकजहती का इजहार करने चले जाते हैं. तो
what is your excuse me, what is your view on men attending the march? Because the reason why I'm asking this is because at least last year there was I saw on social media you have a lot of women posting about how the space needs to be left for women to sort of express their ideas and their stories and everything. And then you also have other sort of another corner where women are saying ke, if you're not coming, then like you're part of the problem, why aren't you coming as well? So where do you fall? Because I've seen both sides of the coin. You should go with your women friends, you should go with them and express solidarity, and then the other side is that you should, why are there so many men at the march?
So
you should
going
let them
to the march and giving women space can be done simultaneously, and they're also both two different things. All right, so you can go to the march and just support your sisters or your female friends that you're there with, or you go to the march and you try to take up space ki bhai dekho mujhe, or like a whole ton of men YouTubers that come to the march every year and they take up a shitload of space. And then we have a lot of uncles who try to like take up visual space, right? And as a volunteer, I learned that it was really important for the women to be able to just see only women at the front, because so that they could see कि भाई देखो ये औरतें हर उम्र की, हर क्लास की बाहर निकली हुई हैं, एक साथ निकली हुई हैं, and the men are at the back because this is the International Women's Day. We only want to see women at the front, right? So if you want to go, I think you should go, but just make sure you don't take up any space there that जिसकी वजह से बाकी women या तो उनकी space जाए, उनकी visual space जाए. Just
don't clog it up for them.
Don't make it about yourself.
Go and don't make it about yourself. Just be there to express solidarity. You don't have to be there कि अच्छा मुझे कुछ करना चाहिए, मैं कुछ करूँ. No, just be there and be like
chant along, stand there and keep an eye on the other dudes there and make sure they're not doing some stupid
the other question I had was, you mentioned that you when volunteering had a lot of interesting discussions about the manifesto with other volunteers there. So is there a lot of debate that goes on within the volunteers and within like women who are engaged in the Aurat March about the manifesto and agreements, disagreements, or do you think that everyone is on board exactly 100%?
Oh, no.
I think
it's a proper process.
Okay.
And the manifesto is created after consultation from like all concerned parties, right? So if we're adding a clause talking about a specific law, or if we're talking about the defamation law, we go and we consult female lawyers and lawyers who've dealt with defamation laws, and we ask them, okay, what are the loopholes here? What's happening here? Why is this way? And how is it affecting women? And why is it only affecting women in this way? And how is it being used to suppress, voices of survivors? How do we fix this? Is there a better version that we can put out? And we consult people about it. So if we're adding a clause about children's rights or education, we consult women in the education ministry, or women who are working in the education sector, who are drafting the curricula for different schools, who are policymakers, and we ask them, like, can you help us? Can you tell us what policies can be, introduced that would make education more accessible for women, would make it more accessible for little girls, and what are the biggest obstacles that we're facing that the state should be held responsible for, or that the state can genuinely do something about and isn't doing anything about it. So, the manifesto and the Charter of Demands is very deeply researched. A lot of different women are involved, a lot of senior lawyers, policymakers, politicians, ministers. They're consulted, they're asked their advice, because obviously we don't know everything, right? We need to do our research. We need to be, if we want to table a Charter of Demands, we need to be able to defend it. Okay, we're asking for this specifically because this is how it's affecting women on the ground. This is how it's affecting young girls. This is how it's affecting the working class women. And we want you to change this because we know you have the power to.
So the reason why I was asking was, like, it's great that you consult policymakers and experts in the field, in those relevant fields. But I'm sure, at least I would think, that there's not a homogeneous or uniform answer or solution or viewpoint that even though they're all women in that particular field, they have the same diagnosis of the problem, B, the same solution of the problem. So what about diverging viewpoints? How do you reach a consensus of, let's say, that we have to defund parts of the police as a prescription, after hearing all of that? Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure that if you consult 10 experts in the field, they would all say the same thing about what they think the solution is.
Okay, so they usually do for most of the problems, right? So the problem or the demand has to be specifically complicated for it to have multiple solutions or to have, all of these intersectionalities.
Yeah, but society is pretty complex.
And even when we're talking about the solutions or talking about even defining the problem, we make sure to be sensitive about the intersectionalities as much as we can, right? Okay, how does it affect a woman? How does it affect a Pashtun woman? How does it affect somebody living in Sindh? कि जो education वाली problem है वो फलाने गांव में लड़की के लिए कैसे ट्रांसलेट हो रही है? अगर हम लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं, अच्छा पंजाब में स्कूल्स में आपने ये करना है, तो मतलब क्या हमें ही सिर्फ उसका फ़ायदा हो रहा है ना? तो बाकी ख़वातीन जो कि पंजाबी नहीं है, जो कि लिटरेट नहीं है और जिनको जेन्युइनली एक्सेस की प्रॉब्लम्स एजुकेशन की, उनके लिए तो कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट मसला हो गया. तो एवरी टाइम वी कम अप, वी फिगर आउट कि क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, वी एक्चुअली ट्राई आवर बेस्ट to go and ask the concerned communities कि क्या मसला यहाँ पे आपको पेश आ रहा है और आपके ख्याल में इसको कैसे ठीक किया जा सकता है. Then we ask decision makers in that field कि ये इस चीज़ के ऊपर क्या किया जा सकता है and what would a demand look like, कि how do you think could a possible solution take form अगर हम इस हिसाब से सोचें कि राइट कि अगर फंडिंग हो रही है, NGOs काम कर रहे हैं, फलाना टीना, तो स्कूल्स में कोई प्रोग्राम्स हो रहे हैं, ये हो रहा है, तो वाई इज़ इट डिफरेंट फॉर गर्ल्स, वाई इज़ इट डिफरेंट फॉर विमेन, कोई लॉज इंट्रोड्यूस हो रहे हैं, तो वाई डज इट टेक फॉर सो लॉन्ग कि भाई वो एक्चुअली इम्प्लीमेंट हो, ख़ास तौर पे लॉज दैट अफेक्ट विमेन लाइक द डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस लॉ और द वर्क प्लेस हरासमेंट लॉ. लाइक सदियों से चलते आएंगे. हदूद ऑर्डिनेंस कोई देख लो, उसको सिर्फ ख़त्म करने में कितना टाइम लगा था, उसकी वजह से कितना डैमेज हुआ था, और ज़्यादा कौन फेस करे थी?
ऑफ कोर्स
औरतों को ही ज़्यादा मतलब उसका अफेक्ट हो रहा था. तो why does it always take that long to change something or introduce something that is affecting half of the population?
And so that's obviously a very important step to take, and a lot of these issues are issues that predominantly affect women. But if I'm not wrong, I went through this year's manifesto. I read through it, and I saw a couple of issues or demands that I don't think were written as they were, like, they weren't demanded to be only fixed for women, or they weren't issues that only affected women. So, for example, the environmental concern, or hyper or inflation and IMF and capitalism, in quotation marks. Do you think that's a true assessment or examination of what I read in the manifesto? So, capitalism or the economy or environment is something that is naturally affecting all of us. So they've also included that as a way to, and there's a lot of, I think, class-based analysis in the manifesto that I've read. Do you think it's wise, or do you think it's great that Aurat March is expanding its scope across class lines as well and not just gender specific? And secondly, do you think it's wise to basically include in the manifesto such complex stuff like the economy? Do you think that takes away from some of the other specific interests?
Do you think that laws and decisions about the economy affect women?
I think it affects everyone. Yes.
Do you think political decisions, do you think environmental decisions affect women?
Yes.
Then why wouldn't we include it in the manifesto?
No, but I'm talking specifically of workplace harassment laws, Hudud ordinance. These are all issues that these are women specific issues because men rarely, if ever,
because they're the most glaring issues in our face. कि औरतों को हरासा किया जा रहा है, उनको क्या नाम है, they're being inflicted with violence. So we think these are the only issues that women face. But
no. Maybe I've presented it incorrectly. I was basically saying that hyperinflation, for example, is something that you wouldn't say is a women's only issue. I think it's a very women's only issue. I think it's a very women's issue.
I would say like hyperinflation.
Don't you think कि जिन औरतों ने घर में रोटी बनानी है रोज, अब आज ही I volunteered for this mobilization thing, and I went to this community in Shadra, right? और वहाँ पे कोई बात हो रही थी और सारे लोग गालियाँ दे रहे थे इमरान खान कि सारी औरतें, बिकॉज वो अपने बच्चों को अंडे नहीं खिला सकती, दूध नहीं पिला सकती, क्योंकि अंडे इतने महंगे हो गए, दूध इतना महंगा हो गया, तो वो क्या करती हैं, वो कमेटियाँ डालती हैं ताकि वो ये चीज़ें पूरी कर सकें, राइट? तो इन्फ्लेशन सब जो बेसिक यूनिट है आपकी, उसके बीच में औरतें और बच्चे आ रहे हैं, उनको सबसे ज़्यादा अफेक्ट कर रही है हम लोगों का. वी थिंक के एक बहुत सुपरफिशियल व्यू, जो ये एक्चुअली जो आपने क्वेश्चन रेज किया, इट्स अ रियली गुड क्वेश्चन, बिकॉज ये डिबेट इतनी चल रही है आजकल ट्विटर पे भी खास तौर पे कि भाई अच्छा ये तो भाई पॉलिटिकल आप बातें कर रही हैं, ये तो औरतों की वो है ही नहीं, मसले मसाइल इन्वायरमेंट्स है, आपका क्या लेना देना, आप और बच्चियों की पढ़ाई के बारे में, तो बच्चियों की भाई हम लोगों को लगता है कि वहाँ पे इनके इश्यूज ख़त्म हो जाते हैं, बट नो, इन्फ्लेशन जितनी औरतों को, जितनी एक उस बेसिक यूनिट को अफेक्ट कर रही है, वो तो आपको आपकी अपनी अम्मी आपको बताएंगी कि भाई तुम्हें पता है मटर कितने के हो गए, प्याज कितने के हो गए, बट यू वुडंट नो कि कितनी इन्फ्लेशन हुई है उस पर, how it's affecting your household, right? Because your household is completely run by your mom, right? So that entire thing is being translated down to your mom, who stays at home and takes care of you, runs the house. So she's being the most affected by it, and she's also the most aware of it, right? So how would that not be a women's issue?
Yeah,
right?
I feel like in most of the things that you both kind of listed down as contentiously non-women issues, like chalo, even if they're not specifically and solely affecting women, they're, I would say, at least when it comes to things like economics or even like politics, these things at least disproportionately definitely do affect women.
No, I think
more.
Politics is definitely overwhelmingly affecting women negatively in our society. I was not saying that they're not affecting women. I'm saying that they're sorry, go on. If you're seeing half of the population angry, they're definitely being affected by everything. No, of course. Right? Yeah. I was just thinking that, so this was leading into my second question, which was, do you think that, at least I didn't seem to see in the manifesto any prescriptions, and I don't think there generally have been any major prescriptions of changing the economic order generally that we have of markets and of capitalism, quote unquote, however you want to view that word. And so I think that obviously, because all of the other demands are very well researched. They're there specifically, and they have very specific solutions that you have researched very properly. I think what I was getting at was basically what is the solution or prescription that you would generally, I think, in the Aurat March discourse is there for trying to fix the economy or changing this aspect of it. That's where I was getting at, basically.
So are you trying to ask me if Aurat March is capitalist or communist? Like, is that the
Yeah,
question?
I'm slightly confused.
Yeah, Ismail, your right-wing capitalism is showing. I'm just kidding. That's a joke, guys. He's not a right-wing capitalist. And I feel like just with these things, like, things like this are also a little complex to answer. Even in, like, I'm sure entire manifestos, like, what's better for women, like political ideology. But I think the important thing, or the thing to take away from here, and I'm basically wrapping up the podcast because Ghantes is zyada. Kitna time ho gaya? 1 hour 10 minutes. Wow, where does the time go?
We should definitely have a separate segment
Yeah.
just on the manifesto and art.
Actually, I would
if
love.
You guys are interested.
We are very interested. I think I'd love to have you on again sometime after Aurat March, because I feel like talking about
Debunk the misinformation and all of that.
Yeah, and
that's
also-
my favorite thing to talk about.
let's go, because I feel like all of
being accused of foreign funding.
Woo! France.
Audit me, bitch.
Yeah, literally, because I feel like by the way, I'm very comfortable holding this pop filter in my hand from now on, by the way. I know मैंने तीन दफा mic पे मार चुका हूँ अभी, but next time नहीं होगा. मुझे बहुत मजा आ रहा है. I feel like Freddie Mercury with the bottomless like mic stand.
This is time to wrap up.
Khair, my point being, अभी तुमने बात की about Aurat March. I'm really glad we got to. We're definitely going to put out a separate clip from this as well.
Yeah, because I really appreciate Ismail's questions.
No.
And they're because these are questions that are being raised by everyone.
Yeah.
And because I think there's a general misunderstanding where people disassociate women's issues from general issues that we think aren't feminine, right?
Yeah.
Like environmental issues
Yeah.
or like economical issues.
Yeah.
Like how does this affect women?
Yeah.
But we fail to see the connections between the economic decisions made by the state and how it translates down into your domestic help, जिसको मतलब inflation to pay off those IMF loans की वजह से वो बेचारी नई सब्जियां ही उसकी 500 रुपए में आ रही होती है. तो we fail to see the connections, which is why we completely we think कि अच्छा ये बहुत complex problems हैं जिनका effect आम आवाम पे नहीं होना है. तो हम लोग डिसोसिएट कर जाते हैं और फिर उस डिसोसिएशन में औरतें तो बिल्कुल ही हट जाती है ना कि इनको इससे क्या फर्क पड़े. तो आई वुड से दैट्स अ वेरी गुड डिस्कशन. वी शुड डेफिनेटली डू अ होल.
I just wanna clear up my position. I didn't say that women didn't get affected. I was just
God.
No.
Relax. We know
I
you're
didn't
cool,
say you
man.
didn't either.
You're cool. You're
I'm
cool.
saying
पता
I
नहीं होता
understand
आजकल.
where your question is
कोई
arising
पता
from.
नहीं.
And I appreciate that you're willing to understand.
Yeah, because I
how
think wrapping this up, I think that's actually a very good point, because you having these discussions, and I'm sure people have questions, and a lot of them come from a good place.
I have a lot of questions because I was like, IMF का हमसे क्या ताल्लुक? And then I sat down, I studied it, I asked people कि मुझे समझाओ ये why are we concerned about this specific policy or that specific policy. I myself had to understand and learn. Like अब जैसे कोई economists थी बंदियाँ जिन्होंने ये issue raise किया था कि we don't understand this, but जो inflation और ये price raises और वगैरह हैं वो इस वजह से हो रही है क्योंकि ये मसले हैं, क्योंकि हमारी पॉलिसीज़ कुछ ऐसी हैं जो कि ऐसे लोगों ने बनाई हैं जो कि ये अंडरस्टैंड नहीं कर रहे कि जो गरीब है वो और गरीब हो जाएगा इस चीज़ से और फिर वो भूख से मर जाएगा. ठीक है, और हम लोग इस चीज़ को कम्प्लीटली इग्नोर कर रहे हैं कि भाई ये किस तरह अफेक्ट करेगी आम इंसान को. तो आई डेंट अंडरस्टैंड ऑल ऑफ दैट ईदर. आई हैड अ ह्यूज लर्निंग कर्व अंडरस्टैंडिंग, बिकॉज मैं तो भाई डेंटिस्ट्री सीख रही थी, मुझे ना लॉ का पता ना ये इसका पॉलिसीज़ का ना इकोनॉमिक्स का. तो आई वुड सिट एंड आई वुड लिसन टू पीपल फॉर आवर्स एट एंड जस्ट टॉकिंग, जस्ट सो आई कुड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट दे वर टॉकिंग अबाउट, टू बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ओह सो दैट्स व्हाई दिस हैपेंस, ओह इसलिए ये हमारे साथ ऐसे हो रहा है. To be able to put the pieces, the puzzle together to understand कि ये नहीं कि भाई हमारे नसीब ख़राब हैं और हम लोग ऐसे मुल्क में पैदा हुए थे जहाँ पे ही होते हैं. This is all happening because the system is rigged.
Yeah.
Because the system needs to be fixed. It needs to be, set on fire and then just built up from the ashes or something.
Yeah. And like, I think we definitely gotta have you on again after Aurat March so we can sit down and abhi, like, talking about it beforehand is always good and productive. And like, of course, the point is to shout people out to actually go to the march. But then afterwards, obviously, जब सारा मतलब ट्विटर फट रहा होगा और लोगों को मतलब ये उर्दू पॉइंट आया होगा, कह रहा होगा आपको आपके घर वालों को पता है कि आप आई हुई हैं,
अच्छा वो उर्दू
मगर इस्लाम में तो औरतों को सब हकूक दिए गए हैं, तो आपको कौन हकूक नहीं मिल रहे?
hate उर्दू पॉइंट यार, like that, especially that guy with the spikes जो हर जगह आ जाता है, that man, fuck that guy. And also fuck, what's his name, उस दिन भी गाली दी थी, Khalilur Rahman Qamar, fuck you bro, Amy, just तू तो मर जा ना मेरी, खैर मजाक, नहीं मरी मत, मर जा उसे, that point, I hate that guy. Point being, Haiqa, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope after 1 hour and 20 minutes of talking to you, you now realize why we wanted you on the podcast.
Outro.
And yeah, and thank you so much for coming. Thank you तो कहने दे भाई, outro.
याद शायद
नहीं मुझे नहीं भूलता यार. Thank you Haiqa for coming on. ठीक है, Ismail को बड़ी टेंशन हो रही है कि ट्विटर पे कैंसिल ना हो जाए. नहीं होता तो यार रिलैक्स कर.
मैं इजी हूं भाई.
बच्चे को जा रहे हो यार.
क्या मसला है?
Oh yeah. अच्छा खैर, Haiqa, thanks so much for coming on. The last segment of I remember, man. The last segment of the podcast is always the guest segment. So this is Haiqa Nasir's segment, where you can say anything you want to say to the lovely viewing audience over on the mic, to the thousands upon hundreds of people who actually watch these episodes.
I'm just gonna tell you 10 subscribers to guys, please come to the Aurat March and bring someone with you.
That's it. That's a lovely message. I love that so much. And yeah, thank you so much again for coming on, taking on the time, and we will see you again for sure. And
see you in a couple of weeks.
For sure, man. And from us to you, the only thing we always got to say to you is please leave a like, a share, subscribe, a comment. Go to the links in bio to go check out Haiqa's page at train.with.haiqa. Go check out Aurat March's Instagram page. See ways you can help out, donate, help support the movement essentially, and be there at the 8th of March. Make sure you're marching. Make sure you're just with the crowd. And I know there's mostly guys on our channel, so please don't be an asshole. Stand on the side, chant along, make sure everything's going okay. Don't try to get in the front of the thing. Don't try to get too much publicity off of this thing. Don't make a stupid video with yourself at the march with your fucking whatever and be like, I went to the... No, just shut up, be there, go home. End of story. That's just my 2 cents on it. And from me to you, I always just say 3 words to end the podcast. I'll say them again. And that's... Keep it tight.
Take it easy.
And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.